Let the video come up here. All right, I've got it up.
Yeah, I got it too.
Yeah, we need like a song to lead us in. But anyways, Barry, take it away. Live from Brofest Studios, it's the Playmakers with Big J and the Beard.
Hello, folks, and thank you all for joining us on this beautiful Friday night in preparation of the divisional round weekend here in the NFL playoffs. We have an awful lot of news and information to share with you guys. We also have some divisional round picks. So let's dive right into it. But let me introduce my sidekick for the next hour is going to be Big J. Big J, how you doing?
Hi, Beard. How's it going out there, ladies and germs? This is going to be, we have a full slate of NFL news and obviously divisional playoff weekend. Only 7 games left in the year, where no fans are allowed in the stadiums for the most part. But we got some big news to get to. So let's go ahead and let's get our kick started here, Beard. Why don't you go ahead and take off on the first topic coming at you.
All right. So we'll just kind of go in order here with the way that news has sort of developed so far this week. A significant firing that's going on here in the NFL, which happened a couple days ago, was the Philadelphia Eagles finally parted ways with Doug Peterson. Now, I was a little shocked by these events. If you look back to their final week of the season, Doug Peterson took tremendous heat from fans and also his players over the benching of Jalen Hurst late in that fourth quarter. And his reasoning was to see exactly what his third stringer had to bring to the table. So it took tremendous heat from fans and his players for that. Now, I originally thought that this was maybe due to Jeffrey Lurie, the owner for the Philadelphia Eagles, and maybe he was telling Doug Peterson exactly what to do. So the fact that he wasn't fired the day after that game, it kind of led me to think that maybe ownership had a role in that, telling Peterson exactly what to do to see if, maybe Jalen Hurts isn't exactly the answer. So we need to see what we have. But as the days and weeks went by, and going into this happened Monday, going into when this happened, you kind of have to start to think that maybe ownership was kind of more in favor of keeping Carson Wentz. They just signed him to that big contract last year. They have a tremendous amount of money invested in this still a young quarterback. He's 28. In this young quarterback, Carson Wentz. So Big J, you have to think, did ownership take, were they in a corner and they basically had to pick? It's either going to be Wentz or Peterson, and they eventually picked Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I honestly think that that the task that obviously the contract that Carson Wentz has is a big time contract that the Eagles can't get out of at this point. Oops, and so I think with the contract that Wentz has, they basically had instructed or had given it to Peterson and said, hey, you know what, we need you to guide our young quarterback to the future with Carson Wentz, and of course he's had injury issues and stuff, but I think that's kind of what it was ultimately down to. I don't know that the Eagles would have any suitors, but I have one of the options that the Eagles have now that they cut their ties with their head coach is, there's a possibility that they could, obviously they'll keep Carson Wentz, but I could see them possibly putting up Jalen Hurts on the trade block, if you will, and and they're picking top five, I believe, or maybe number six. Um, so I could see them totally, in a quarterback heavy draft this year. I could see them also possibly going quarterback there as well. Um, but yeah, I think it's just that huge contract. Their option, they didn't have any other option but to keep Carson Wentz. And even if they were to cut him, they're still responsible for all that huge contract, which I don't have the details in front of me, but I know it's a huge contract that they'd be responsible for regardless. So they're going to have to keep him on the roster. So I think they're going to try to find somebody, kind of like Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes have there in Kansas City. Somebody that can, kind of turn turn a really talented quarterback into something special, which Carson Wentz showed signs of that in his first year before he got hurt. But
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I Carson Wentz is going to be there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Eagles do with their early first round pick.
Right. Exactly. Now, just give me a little more insight on that, Big J. How much, now this all depends on what kind of head coach they bring in. If it's going to be somebody with a defensive mind, if it's going to be somebody on the offensive side that maybe has that ability to work with Carson and get him moving in the right direction. But just your personal opinion, how much pressure do you think is going to be on Wentz this coming season?
I think there's going to be a lot of pressure. They have one of the lowest salary cap in the league at this point, so it's going to be really difficult for them to improve during the offseason. So I think a lot of the success of that team is going to ride on Carson Wentz. But unfortunately, he's shown that with the exception of his very first year, he struggles to stay healthy. But the Eagles, after winning the Super Bowl, have just taken uh, massive shots to their lineup on both sides of the ball, and they have just obviously really struggled, especially when they're picking in the top 10. So I
Mm,
think a lot of that's going to be on Carson Wentz. He's still the star of the team, I believe. But obviously with Jalen Hurts too, you got two quarterbacks that are fairly mobile, and um, so who knows? But obviously that first pick is going to be really important for the Eagles. It's going to have to be somebody who can produce something right away to help that team turn the corner. But they're going to have to definitely do something else with their money situation.
right, right, exactly. Because you have to factor in, that wide receiver from Alabama who won the Heisman, and his name's um, escaping me at the moment. But
Yeah.
he, there's a good chance that he may be there at that sixth pick. Now, however, we're going to move past that a little bit off topic. Um, but you look at, the Jets. Um, what 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 exactly did you think about their head coach hiring? Actually, last night, early this morning, it was made official.
Yeah, it was interesting. Defensive minded coach. Uh, you know, their last defensive minded coach, I believe, was Rex Ryan, and they had success there with a young quarterback, and the Jets picking number two, and so they're definitely going to get a young quarterback with a lot of talent there. It'll be interesting to see who he has as his offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, and see if they can, possibly have the success they had with Mark Sanchez early in his career before it became butt fumble. But yeah, that's an interesting hire. Not somebody I was expecting, uh, but
Well, he definitely was a hot commodity. He had interest in six out of the seven teams that had head coaching vacancies this year, and
yeah.
that receiver is Devontae Smith.
Mhm.
And honestly, I think there's a high probability that they will ride Sam Darnold for one more year and take a chance on Devontae Smith with that second round pick. What do you think about that?
This number two pick, you mean?
Yeah, the number two pick.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know that receiver, despite winning the Heisman and being a talented player, I think a receiver that's taken in the top five, the top 10, I think those guys need to be freaks of nature. Like a Calvin Johnson and a Randy Moss. The type of guys that he's an absolute stud. Now, granted, he apparently tore it up in the championship game, which I didn't watch. But I think just because of his size, his stature, he's a smaller receiver. I don't see him going that early. mean, yeah, he's got the hardware and everything, but he just doesn't strike me as a guy who I would be excited for my team to go out and get.
Okay, fair enough. And the last little bit of head coaching news that we do have was made official again this morning. But Urban Meyer is making his return to the NFL, and he will be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, they interviewed him this morning, and he said a big selling point was obviously, makes perfect sense, as clear as day. But a big selling point of Jacksonville is having that number one overall pick, and everybody around the world already knows who it's going to be. So, looking at Jacksonville this coming year, do you see them making a big splash with Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer at the helm now?
Well, Urban Meyer is known as an offensive goddess, or god, I should say. he's, he's not a woman, but he handpicked his coaching staff, and it sounds like he's basically going to be given control of that, basically the organization. It's what it sounds like, letting him handpick everybody on his staff, and which I think most teams do anyways, but. Yeah, with a young quarterback like Trevor Lawrence or even Justin Fields for that matter, I think with the skill set that Urban Meyer brings, uh, that's you'll kind of see that. I think they're trying to mirror what the Chiefs do on offense, kind of running a college style, fake this, fake that, to get guys on defense to take one wrong step, and then you have a quarterback that's talented enough to throw the ball and it can move, and you have a receiver that has a lot of speed. Um, then that's where you got stars like Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes. That's where they excel, is all the fake this and fake that stuff. So I think that's
Mm.
something that Urban Meyer can bring to the table. He's been successful anywhere that he's been in college. So I think his first year or two, I think we'll see glimpses, but I don't expect them to be knocking anything out of the park right off the bat.
Right. And you you look at the owner for the Jaguars, Shad Khan. He is one of the most likable guys in the league. Everybody that's around him seems to enjoy everything about him. He's got a good mind for the game, and he's got a good business mind for the game. So, personally, I'm really excited for Jacksonville. They've had their highs and lows over the last handful of years. Um, but hopefully this will get them back in contention. I don't think it's going to be, this year people are going to be screaming Super Bowl. But I think this coming year they'll be on the outside looking in. Give it 2 or 3 years, this team could be a definite force in that AFC. Big
Well,
J, why don't you
and
go
on
into?
on top of that, real quick, Jacksonville does have uh, the top salary cap in the NFL. Uh, I think they do. I think they have the most cap space of any team
Right, yeah, you're
in the
correct.
NFL.
They
So
do.
they can definitely make a big splash with some free agents, and they've done it before. It didn't lead to a whole lot of success on the field, but they've definitely made some big splashes in free agency in the past. And you get a young, talented quarterback that, if Trevor Lawrence is what he appears to be, um, then maybe they could make a playoff run. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes you wonder. Had Jacksonville been able to, keep Jalen Ramsey happy. You can imagine, Jalen Ramsey being the heart and soul of that defense. Then you got Trevor Lawrence, a young superstar. On the offensive side, you bring in a new head coach, his hand-picked personnel. Sky's the limit for Jackson. For Jacksonville these next handful of years, I think.
Keep in mind, Jalen Ramsey plays for the L.A. Rams.
Right, but he used to play for Jacksonville.
Oh, he used to, yeah. I didn't
Yeah,
hear you say used to.
that's
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right,
That's
my
what I meant.
mistake. My mistake. All right.
That's what I meant.
All right. Well, moving on. Let's go. Let's head to the shocker in the wild card round. The Cleveland Browns upsetting the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. Now, granted, no fans, so and to me that means a lot. Not having fans in the stands, I think that obviously takes the home field advantage away. That is so important, especially in the NFL with momentum and stuff like that. So, but anyways, a big victory for the Browns. Their first playoff win in quite a while, actually. I'm trying to remember. I think it was like
18 years since
18
2002
years.
was their last
Okay,
playoff victory.
so that's a big step for them, and it was nice to be able to see the Browns actually put it together. And at the start of the season, they looked really good, and then they looked like garbage, like their typical Browns that we're used to seeing midway point
Hmm.
in the season, and they picked it back up. So it's nice to see them kind of on a roll. And they'll be heading to Kansas City on Sunday to face the top seeded Chiefs.
Yes, exactly. And just talking a little bit more about about that wild card game. That first quarter had to be the ugliest 15 minutes of football honestly I've ever seen in my life. It started with snap one when we were actually on the air last week when it happened,
Yep, yep,
and very first snap of the game, Pouncey, Pro Bowl center, not exactly sure, had the jitters going, what was going on, but snap 4 feet over Roethlisberger's head, and then Big Ben did his best Cam Newton impersonation, didn't try to dive for the ball. So I mean, it was difficult to watch that whole first quarter. I kind of felt a little bit bad for Pittsburgh. But they've definitely been the big brother of that division.
yeah,
The past decade. They've dominated, and at the same time, you had to feel good for Baker and those guys.
yeah,
Their head coach Kevin Stefanski, wasn't able to attend the game due to COVID. They had one day of preparation as far as practice went, and they looked really well. They looked hungry. Looked like, um, I mean, I mean, on paper, you can make your case that Pittsburgh maybe had the better team, but you watch the game, Cleveland was the better team, and they deserved to win that game.
yeah, definitely. And I can honestly say that as a Bronco fan, it was nice to see another team implode in a big stage instead of it always being Denver. It seemed like, but yeah, that first quarter was. I mean, if you would have just grabbed that game out of the air at any point during the year and asked yourself, is this a playoff game, a preseason game, or a regular season game? You would have honestly thought it wouldn't have been a playoff game. That probably would have been your last guess. But yeah,
Hmm.
I think it could have been a lot worse. But yeah, the Browns, they started out the gate quick, and I think if they could do that against Kansas City, they definitely have a chance. But we'll get to that game. We'll get to that game later on in our show here. So moving on to the next one here. Well, there's Carson Wentz. I knew I had him somewhere on here. So hey, Carson, how you doing? Enjoy that contract you got there. Now let's go to player movement here. So Matt Stafford, his name has come up with the Denver Bronco organization, and we'll get to their new GM hire later on. But the rumors are Matt Stafford will not be in Detroit next year. And yeah, honestly, he's kind of reminds me of Barry Sanders, Megatron. These guys that played in Detroit for a long time were stars, and they just didn't ever seem like they could do anything right when it came to getting in the playoffs and winning games. So you really
Hmm.
got to feel for a guy who's to me, I think he's one of the toughest, if not the toughest quarterback in the NFL. He's got a strong arm still. Um, I was watching this guy play Madden, and he had Matt Stafford on the Broncos, and they actually went on to win the Super Bowl. And I mean, even though it's just a video game, uh, Matt Stafford really helped turn that team around on offense. And honestly, competition's a good thing. Having Drew Lock there, young quarterback, he struggled, but he had his moments. But he's still gelling with his first year offensive coordinator. So there's a lot of new things. He lost his number one wide receiver first game of the season. The defense obviously took a hit. Von Miller got injured the last day of practice before the regular season began, and so the Broncos kind of started on their heels to start the season, and of course lost an offensive lineman who opted out for COVID, and uh, but we had some good things. Our running game looked pretty good at times. We played really good against good teams. We had every right to beat Chiefs twice this season. Um,
Hmm.
the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins are picking third in the draft, when they came into Denver early on in the season, they I remember watching the game, and they said that the Dolphins were the hottest team coming into that game, and Denver shut them down and ran the ball all over them, and looked stellar in that game. But competition's always good, and having a veteran quarterback, in there for a year, maybe two, um, can oh man, can definitely help Drew Lock in his future. Just being able to understand, maybe what he needs, a little bit more leadership there that he can get from Matt Stafford.
Mm, exactly right. Now, the other thing I wanted to touch on real quickly was when you mentioned Matt Stafford's durability and that you think he is the toughest guy in the NFL right now, which I 100% agree. And the comparison gets shed some light on the subject of the fact that you have so many players now that get injured. I mean, we saw it a lot this year. Blame it on COVID, blame it on no OTAs, blame it on no preseason, what have you. There seems to be a lot more injuries in this day and age in football for reasons when I don't know, when the game has become, in my opinion, extremely soft. It's
Yeah,
not like it was in the, 80s and 90s, even early 2000s. It was a different game. But when Big J, when you think about Matthew Stafford's durability, there's another quarterback, legendary quarterback, who was famous for his durability. Do you know who I'm talking about?
a legendary quarterback famous for his durability. Well, first one
Still holds
comes.
the record for most consecutive starts.
I'd say that's Brett Favre.
Correct. You are absolutely correct. Brett Favre, known for that tough wit. Now,
Yep.
granted, for the majority for that first half of his career, he was addicted to painkillers. So, you factor that in. Matthew Stafford, as far as I know, is not addicted to Vicodin or anything like that. But these certain type of quarterbacks who have that durability, who can take a hit, bounce right back up, not look for a flag,
Yeah.
bounce right back up, and jumping in the huddle. Um, I would be in favor of Matty Stafford coming to Denver. I think he's definitely a good guy that can teach Drew, the ropes on certain things for at least 1 year, maybe two, what have you. Um, but he is one of the most respectable players that's still in this league right now, and I have the utmost respect for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we're on the topic of veteran quarterbacks, we got another one on the slate here. There's uncertainty of Philip Rivers in Indianapolis, whether he's going to be there for another year or whether he'll be a free agent as well. Here's another guy who's been durable, been a solid has had a solid career in San Diego. Uh, it was just the same thing. They could just never get over that hump. They were playoff team numerous years. Had a great offense with Antonio Gates and LaDainian Tomlinson, and Philip Rivers has been spectacular almost every season that he's been there. They just haven't been able to. Kind of like Matt Stafford, except they get to the playoffs, they just can't do anything once they get there.
Hmm.
But he's another guy that I think would be a cheap option for the Broncos. To bring in a veteran guy, a guy who can definitely show some leadership to the locker room, which it seems like we need. I think we have the youngest team in Denver, the youngest team in the NFL. And I think a guy like Philip Rivers could definitely come in and straighten some guys out and definitely be a leader in that locker room, whether or not he sees the field.
Right, exactly right. Now, another possible landing spot for I would say this would maybe lean more towards Philip Rivers, given he's on the back nine of his career, a few years older than Matthew Stafford. But a good possible landing place may be a place like Jacksonville for say Philip Rivers. If they want to, even having Philip as a backup, given that a little bit of mentoring to Trevor Lawrence might go a long way, and that's a definite possibility that Jacksonville may lean that way to get somebody in there that has a little bit more, experience and knows the game inside and out, like Philip Rivers does. Now, another quarterback that wasn't on our list, but one that just came to mind, and I wanted to get your opinion on this, Big J. But where do you think Pittsburgh stands with Ben Roethlisberger?
Well, being that they fired their offensive coordinator, I think his future in Pittsburgh is in question. I think Roethlisberger's at the end of his career, where I think it's he might not want to learn a new offense, because he's going to have to with the new offense coordinator. So, there's a chance that you won't see Big Ben in Pittsburgh. That'd be certainly a shock to everybody. But if the Colts can do that with the goat and Peyton Manning, let him walk. I guess I could see that happening there in Pittsburgh as well.
Well, yeah. The big thing with Roethlisberger's last year of the contract has a $45 million cap hit.
Yeah,
So if they are able to unload that, a lot of options there become available for Pittsburgh.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So then the last guy that I believe we have here on our list is Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
Now, Watson is another guy that has signed a huge contract here last year.
Yep.
Same boat as Carson Wentz. Now, it's not going to be easy for Houston to trade Deshaun Watson, but however, if there's a will, there's a way. If he wants out that bad, he can get out. Now, me personally, I think the best landing spot that makes the most sense to me, and I think would be beneficial for Deshaun Watson, I think the best possible landing spot would be San Francisco. Could you imagine Deshaun Watson in a Shanahan-led offense?
Yeah, I tell you what,
I think
that would be. I think that'd be a pretty good fit, running that West Coast.
Exactly right. Watson is extremely mobile, and he put up close to 5,000 yards this year. Led the NFL, or was top five in the NFL in passing yards. But I think that would be extremely beneficial. Going to San Francisco, having Kyle Shanahan and that West Coast offense that his dad, personalized it in his tenure with Denver, I think would be humongous. Now there has been, a few other teams as possible landing. You look at possibility with Chicago, and then you look at that blockbuster trade that everybody's talking about is the possibility of Tua being traded to Houston in exchange for Deshaun Watson. Is there any other teams that come to mind that would fit Deshaun Watson and be beneficial, Jay?
Well, yeah, I think the Redskins would be a good landing spot for him too. I'm not sure what offense they run. I mean, they had a really good young quarterback, an unknown quarterback that put up really good numbers against Tampa Bay in their wild card weekend loss last weekend. But there's a lot of teams that could use a talented quarterback. But the contract that guy has, you're going to have. I think his best landing spot is at a team that either has a lot of cap space or they already have a solid team built up. And have room to take on his contract, because that's an enormous contract, and for a guy who is clearly unhappy in Houston. He was really unhappy
exactly.
that he wasn't part of the. They didn't ask his opinion of hiring the new GM, which when you're the face of the franchise, I don't know if they asked J.J. Watt or anything like that, but you're if you're one of the stars of the team, that's definitely one of the guys that you would hope that the owner would be leaning on. At least keeping you in the conversation.
Right, and that's also funny that you bring up J.J. Watt, because I honestly think that he's played his last game in Houston. I think he'll be on the move this offseason. Now where he goes, I think J.J. Watson just wants to be a member of a Super Bowl contending team. I think he'll take a tremendous pay cut to do so. So obviously the landing spots for J.J. Watt, again, one of the most likable guys in the NFL, are his landing spots are endless. Certainly hope he wouldn't sign with somebody like Kansas City. I'd love to see him in a Bronco uniform. But JJ, just like we were talking about with Matthew Stafford. He was, parts of very good defenses, very good teams. Just when they made it to the playoffs, unable to do a lot of damage once they got there.
Yeah,
And
and you
again,
also
he
have
was
to. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
just wanted to say that he was also plagued with some injuries. That broken leg 2 seasons ago when he was on the start of another MVP type season for defensive MVP and broke his leg early in the year. I think it was the fourth week of the season. Just I'm really really sad that he hasn't been able to add take that little asterisk off his resume that says that he didn't win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and you also have to remember his brother plays in Pittsburgh, so there's always that chance that maybe he's not chasing a Super Bowl ring, which it'd be hard to imagine that he's not. But the opportunity to be able to play with your brother in the best competition in the last year or two of your career, I think that'd be pretty special for him as well. So I could also see Pittsburgh being a landing spot for him.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, I honestly didn't even think about that. Now, just one other thing I wanted to talk about with Deshaun Watson, as another possible landing spot, like I mentioned with Chicago. Um, I know a lot of people didn't like that they already said that Matt Nagy was coming back for another year. Um, but you have to look at Chicago's offense, and you look at their say top three quarterbacks that have been in their franchise. I mean, you're going to list off names as like Rex Grossman and Jay Cutler. I
Yeah.
mean, a storied franchise like Chicago, and you got two of the top three franchise quarterbacks that you've had on your team are Rex Grossman and Jay Cutler. So, their ownership could be leaning towards maybe bringing in, a guy of Watson's caliber to maybe get things turned around there in Chicago. I've always liked Mitch Trubisky. I think he's kind of gotten a raw deal the last handful of years. I think he played really well in their matchup against New Orleans last week. But unfortunately, I think it's a little bit, a little too late for Mitch in Chicago.
Well, and
Um,
that could have easily been a different game had with that one receiver. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. The one that sucker punched the Saints player earlier in the year. Um,
oh yeah,
and
and
he had
dropped that
that
touchdown pass.
touchdown pass that went right through his hands. So he definitely wins the dumbass award for the week in my book.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Gets paid so many $1 million to catch football, and can understand if he's in tight coverage and the pass was a little bit off. But this pass was perfect.
Yeah.
Trubisky laid it right where it had to be, and he was wide open. There
And
was nobody there.
the defender fell down. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nobody there.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the playoff picture here that we have now this weekend coming up. We won't be covering these games in order of their schedule. We'll be covering these games that I think is in order of importance. But anyways, if you look at the board there, you got the Chiefs, the one seed, the top seed, had the first round bye. Of course, this is the first year of the new playoffs, where we have seven teams playing wild card weekend, with only one bye. So the Browns will travel to Kansas City. We'll have to see what the weather is. Of course, outdoor stadium on real grass. Gotta love that. And then the other AFC matchup is the Buffalo Bills, the two seed. A very impressive win over the Colts. So that was a close game towards the end there. But I tell you what, the Bills came out and they looked really good. Josh Allen was impressive, and we'll get in more into that in a little while. And then of course the Ravens kind of sealing up their kind of recovering from their upset loss last year to the Tennessee Titans. And they went in and pulled out the victory in Tennessee this time. So they will travel to Orchard Park on Saturday night, where there is a chance of snow. So not real grass, but hey, we'll take the snow.
Hmm. Absolutely.
But then look at the NFC. Uh, look at the you look at yes, you look at the NFC side. The one seed, the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers getting that first round bye, and they will be playing at home in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. against the L.A. Rams. So that's going to be an uphill battle, I believe, for the Rams. And then the other half, you've got probably the oldest ancient quarterback matchup ever to ever exist, where you have Drew Brees and Tom Brady as the Buccaneers travel to New Orleans to face the New Orleans Saints, and they are the 2 seeds. We have a 1-6 on both sides, and a 2-5 on both sides. But I tell you what, that first week of wild card, super wild card weekend is what they called it. I'd say that it was pretty competitive. The Rams surprised me, knocking off Seattle. Seattle looked horrible. I think Seattle and Pittsburgh should have played each other last week. That would have been a good game.
Yeah.
But
For,
anyways,
for,
it was every game was pretty competitive. The 2 and the 7s were competitive. So I like that. I like the fact that there was no blowouts and every game was worth watching. So that was good. But the first game we're going to cover uh, will be our Saturday night game, where the Baltimore Ravens will travel to the Buffalo Bills. Now this one is a Saturday night game on NBC. You got Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson facing head to head against each other. The Bills come into this game winning 7 straight. The Ravens have won 6 in a row. And I tell you what, both quarterbacks have been playing really well. But they're, the Bills and the Ravens both have good defenses. So both young quarterbacks will definitely be tested here. But the difference for Baltimore has been the running game. It's been ignited by J.K. Dobbins. He's scored a touchdown in 7 straight games. And I think if the Ravens can limit Buffalo's possessions with that ground game, and the pass defense limits the Bills' opportunities in the red zone, uh, I think the Ravens can pull off an upset here. But regardless of the winner of this game, I think the winner of this game will be representing the AFC in Super Bowl, whatever we're on, 56 or whatever it is. You'd think I would know what Super Bowl we're going to. But what are your thoughts on this game?
well, honestly, I'm a little up in the air because weather's going to play a extremely factor. Which,
The
if you
FYI,
think,
the Buffalo Bills, the home teams are always given 3 points as the home team, and the Bills are favored by 3 points. So basically, if they're on a neutral field, it would be a pick'em game.
gotcha. Um, if the weather is bad and there is some snow, usually the running game takes front and center stage. If that is the case, I would have to give maybe a slight edge to Baltimore, given that they're able to run the ball. They have the number 1 ranked rushing offense in the league this year. However, if that forecasted snow doesn't come in like they say it's going to, obviously the edge has to go to Buffalo. Given Josh
Yeah.
Allen and his ability to find Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, a great receiver. Well, he was in Minnesota, has really flourished this year. And you can just see what happens. You have a top tier receiver. You give him somebody that's going to throw him the ball multiple times a game, and then you look at the accuracy that Josh Allen has shown, making an extreme jump from last year to this year. And that offense is clicking on all cylinders. Now, there's a lot of other people that are saying this is going to be a extremely high scoring affair, and I honestly don't see it. I think it'll be, maybe the first team to score 24 points might win this game. I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be, in the 30s. You look at, in the 40s when Baltimore and Cleveland played earlier this year. I don't see that happening. I think this is going to be a very competitive defensive game. If that weather is bad, like they're saying it's going to be. But still, I have to give that slight edge to Buffalo. Just, they've showed me more on the offensive side. I still don't trust Lamar Jackson if he has to throw the ball, say 30 times this game. I don't see him having a whole lot of success doing that. Now, if they're able to run the ball successfully, all that's going to get thrown back on Josh Allen to be able to move the ball down the field for Buffalo. Regardless of who wins this game, I think it's going to be extremely competitive, and I think it's going to be low scoring as well.
Okay. All right. And then moving on to our second contest that we'll be covering here will be the Old Man Bowl.
Do you want to do? Do you want to do the game picks now, or save them for later?
I had them coming up at the very end of the deal. That's when I
Okay,
have it.
that's
But
fine.
it does feel natural to make our picks now. But I kind of I kind of want to try to do them all at the end,
Okay, that's fine.
and we will definitely keep track of our scores
Okay.
to go over them next week. So the next game on our slate is like I said, the Old Man Bowl. Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to New Orleans Saints. That's a Saturday night game as well. 8:15 p.m. on Fox. Uh, Actually, they have that as 6:40. So that's the 5:40 kickoff. My apologies. Central Time, 5:40, 6:40 Eastern. And that is Sunday. So the schedule that I printed off is completely wrong. But anyways, this is the Sunday nighter. Is Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers trying to defeat the New Orleans Saints, something that they have failed to do in their two games in this season. Of course, they are both in the same division. The first game of the season, New Orleans won 34 to 23. That game was September 13th, and then they also played November 8th, and New Orleans put it on them in Tampa, 38 to 3 was that score, 38 to 3. Tom Brady basically kind of showed his age in both those games, uh, whereas Drew Brees put up solid numbers. Brady in game one, 23 of 36, 239, two touchdowns and two interceptions. In game two, he was 22 of 38 with no touchdowns, and he threw three interceptions. So obviously that Saints defense has found something to confuse the veteran quarterback there in Tampa and have given him some fits. But you never know. It's difficult, really difficult to beat the same team three times in one season.
Absolutely. And before I get into my take of this game, um, now granted, Tom Brady is 43 years old. Drew Brees just turned 42 years old today. Happy birthday, Drew. There
Happy
has
birthday,
been
Drew.
one. There's been one other playoff game when two quarterbacks went against each other in the divisional round that were both at least 38 years old. Can you tell me who that was, Joey? Big J.
You were kind of breaking up. Repeat that question, please.
There has been one other NFL divisional round game that has featured two aging quarterbacks of at least 38 years of age. Can you tell me who that is? Who that game was against?
Let's see. I'd have to say possibly Peyton Manning and Tom Brady.
You are incorrect.
Ooh.
Tom Brady was 37, not 38. But the only other game that featured two quarterbacks of at least 38 years of age playing at the same time was the 1998 divisional round between the Denver Broncos and the Miami Dolphins.
Ah,
A 38-year-old John Elway was dueling a 38-year-old Dan Marino. So just a little
and
fun fact there
the
for you.
Broncos put the whipping on him too.
The yeah
Poor
Miami
Dano.
Miami did not stand a chance. That game was over in the first half.
Yeah, it was.
Um, but anyway, touching here on the Tampa Bay New Orleans matchup. Now, the the thing that the Saints have done in their previous two matchups is they have put an extreme amount of pressure on Tom Brady. You take that last matchup when Tom Brady was hit, I believe, 11 times in that game, sacked 5 times, if my stats are correct. Now they basically took the blueprint, which the only team that has had constant success against Tom Brady was the Denver Broncos. And Denver was known for their tough defense, and they were the only defense in the league that could put constant pressure on Tom Brady, which you take any quarterback from any era, you put them against constant pressure, even the best falter under that kind of pressure. Tom Brady, you look at Elway, Peyton Manning, they're all the same. You put them under constant pressure, it's going to affect them. And that's the thing that New Orleans has done in their previous two meetings. They put constant pressure on Tom Brady, and they were able to force him into some errant throws and was able to get some solid hits on him. So I think if New Orleans stands any chance of making this 3 straight wins against Tampa Bay, now Bruce Arians has been 0-4 since his return to Tampa against New Orleans, so they definitely had Arians' number as well.
Yeah.
Not Brady. But I think if New Orleans is going to come away with this dub, they need to get some pressure on Tom Brady as well.
Yeah, and a quick matchup note here. The Saints swept the regular season matchups. Brady threw 5 interceptions in those 2 games. Drew Brees 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Tampa Bay's offense has since improved since their last meeting in November, and of course Antonio Brown also helps that Tom Brady out and that Tampa Bay offense. Tampa Bay's defense ranked number 1 against the run. They held Alvin Kamara in check during both regular season matchups, and Drew Brees didn't make the big mistakes. So this should be a good matchup for the third time in this season. I expect something to be. Obviously, Tom Brady knows playoff football. So does Drew Brees. I think this one's going to go down to the wire. Uh, so I'm looking forward to this game. I kind of wish it was on real grass and in Tampa, but we'll settle for the Superdome, I guess, on the fake grass. But anyways, the Saints defense, they're no slouch. They ranked fifth against the pass, fourth against the run, and then they're for the Saints, they're 20th passing, sixth rushing. Now, of course, they also have Tatum Hill as a sub quarterback that can kind of the jack of all trades. He can definitely come in, run the read option, and get a little mobility if that Buccaneers run defense gives him some fits.
Mm, absolutely. Absolutely. I think this game is going to be extremely competitive. I think it's going to come down to whoever possesses the ball last is obviously going to be the victor in this game.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. I think it does. I think it comes down to a last second kick possibly, or just I think there's going to be just one big play that's going to swing the game one way or the other, but this should be a classic matchup, and it's one I definitely don't want to miss.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, no, there you go. There's the 2 old men going to go at it. And I tell you what, the cream of Jesus is going to be it's going to be flowing in that locker room after the game. All right, moving on. Moving on to the next the old cream of Jesus.
Better get the Ben Gay on the ready. That's for damn
the
sure.
Ben Gay will be flowing like water. All right. Now our early game on Sunday is the surprising number 6 seed Cleveland Browns traveling to the 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs. Who do you like or not who do you like, but what are you looking for in this matchup there, Beard?
Well, honestly, Cleveland has surprised the heck out of me all year long. And I think, again, they're going to come into this game extremely loose, everything to win and nothing to lose. I think they're gonna start this game extremely quick. Now, Kansas City has been having those issues where they every now and then, they start a game extremely slow. They get in a deficit, say 14, 17 some points, and they're able to claw their way back out of it. And this may be the one time they fall into that hole and they're not able to dig back out. But I think if Baker keeps his head on straight, makes the throws he's been making all year long, and if Nick Chubb's able to run the ball as effective as he has all year, I think Kansas City is going to be in for a 60-minute fight.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And actually, if you think about who the Browns have in that backfield, they have a former Kansas City Chief, Kareem Hunt, who looked awfully good against the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. And even though the Chiefs rightfully released him, I think he's going to want to stick it to the Chiefs. And I agree with you. I think if the Chiefs get down early, I honestly don't see them climbing out of this hole. The Browns are playing with a lot of confidence, and actually they won their first playoff game last week for the first time in 25 years. So I expect Cleveland to come out fast to possibly have a first quarter lead. And of course, the Chiefs' running defense hasn't been that great. They've allowed 4.5 yards per carry, even though the Browns have allowed 300 more yards passing in 7 of their last 8 games. Obviously you got Tyreek Hill is their big threat. A lot of times somehow that guy he's fast and he's short, but I tell you what, he's got the hops and definitely has the speed where Mahomes can just chuck it up like he's done so many times, and somehow that guy comes down with the ball. But I do think the Chiefs can get some pressure on Baker Mayfield, and of course his quick decision making, ESPN, his quick decision making, and his ability to mobile and run the ball when he needs to. I think if they can keep that Chiefs offense off the field, the Browns definitely have a realistic shot of knocking the one seed Chiefs out of the playoffs.
Absolutely right.
But I think
Absolutely
this is
right.
going to be a super high scoring game. I think that one's going to be a fun one to watch too. A lot of offense in that game. I can tell you that right now. Lots of offense.
Yeah, I can easily see 80 plus points combined
Yeah, and
between these two
that's just the
high-powered
first half.
offense.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly right.
All right, and then our last matchup that we'll be discussing here will be our the first game of the day on Saturday. It will be the 6 seed LA Rams traveling to the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field to face Aaron Rodgers and that 1 seed Green Bay Packers. Saturday afternoon kickoff, 4:35 Eastern time, and that game. Not sure what channel that game is on, um, but I think obviously the Packers have that huge home field advantage. LA, warm weather team. Just like Tampa Bay. Their history proves those teams in Florida they struggle playing in cold weather, and I doubt there's no doubt in my mind that it's going to be a frigid one up there in Packer Nation. Um, but the Packers have that home field advantage, and but the challenge for Aaron Rodgers is going to be to find a way to attack that dominant Rams defense. Aaron Donald, even though he's hurt, is not 100%. He is expected to play, and that the interior pressure will be key against the Green Bay offensive line that has been the strength of the team. And of course, you got the veteran quarterback of Aaron Rodgers in the backfield, you know, controlling that offense. If you look at that NFC, you've got three solid veteran quarterbacks, all three Hall of Famers. And then you look at the AFC matchups, and you got a bunch of young guns coming up in the league. So I tell you what, it's going to be a great weekend of football. We're going to see the up and comers in the AFC, and then we're going to see the veteran players. And of course, Jared Goff, not taking anything away from him, he's pretty talented as well. But you're going to see the veteran quarterbacks. I believe are going to come through, and especially in this game here, I think just that just his skill set with Aaron Rodgers and being the veteran quarterback that he is, I think he can handle that pressure from the Rams defensive front. But Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, they know each other really well. So I think it'll be fun to watch on both sides. But I think Green Bay's defense, which is allowed 25 points or less in the last 6 games, I think that is what's going to decide this outcome. The winner of this one, Aaron Rodgers, looking for his 5th NFC Championship trip, and it would honestly be surprisingly, it would be his first one at Lambeau Field if the Packers were to win this game. It would be Aaron Rodgers' first NFC Championship game at home. I do think this is a competitive game as well. I think all 4 games this weekend are going to be really tight. And I did forget to mention with the Chiefs as well, the injury report. Sammy Watkins has been ruled out, and Edwards-Helaire, he is questionable, and the Chiefs haven't been the same team without Edwards-Helaire in the backfield. Their running attack isn't nearly as potent without him as that has proven in the last few games of the regular season, where the Chiefs, by every right, had every right to lose those games and were able to win them all except for the last month of the season when they sat all their starters. But anyways, oh crap.
Yeah, it's a definite blow with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and losing Sammy Watkins there for Kansas City.
Yeah.
But just another note on this matchup with Green Bay.
That game is on Fox, by the way.
Okay. Just another note with that matchup there that we were talking about. Aaron Rodgers is, just like Stephen A. Smith, my good friend Stephen A. Smith always says, he is a bad man. And that's exactly what he is. I don't take anything away from, he's only won one Super Bowl against Pittsburgh about 10 years ago. But there isn't another player that plays right now in the NFL that is as gifted with the way that he throws the ball and his velocity than in Aaron Rodgers. And he is just so fun to watch. Not me personally, I'm not a big fan of Green Bay, but I love Aaron Rodgers and I love watching him play. That competitive fire that he has, and just the ability he has to make throws that look impossible, and somehow just that little shimmy that he's got, that little flick of the wrist,
Yep.
and that ball just drops in there, just gorgeous. I love watching him play. Love watching him play. I think the Rams have a very tall task to go into Lambeau and compete with Green Bay. I do agree. I think this game is going to be close. However, I think it's only going to be close for maybe the first three quarters. And I think once that fourth quarter rolls around, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to do what Aaron Rodgers does, and that's throw the ball. And they are going to explode in that fourth quarter.
All right, I like that. I like that outcome there. I do. I agree with you there. I think Packers pull away in the end, but we'll get to our picks here at the end. But real quick, we'll touch on this very very slightly here. The Denver Broncos have hired their new GM, as John Elway has, and that's the thing. Broncos country should be standing up and applauding John Elway. He has recognized that over the last 5 years he has not done the job that he was doing. He wasn't doing it well enough, and so he thought better of the organization as a whole, because John Elway is the Denver Broncos. He stepped down as GM and hired George Patton from the Minnesota Vikings. Now, George Patton is a guy who is well respected throughout the league, and the entire NFL. Saw this GM opening in Denver, as a huge job, as one of the top jobs to look for, because we are still looked at, the Broncos that is, are still looked at as a championship organization, and we have such a young and talented team. George Patton has made a lot of great picks for the Minnesota Vikings.
Let me stop you real quick,
Yeah.
Jay. Actually, something I just learned today, it's actually George Payton.
Is
not
it Payton?
Patton.
Okay, well, I liked George Patton because it reminds me of
Payton.
it reminds me of Patton. But you know what, Patton or Payton, either way, both those names are awesome. So
Continue.
so
Continue.
so George Payton will come in as our GM, and he's got a great eye for as far as scouting players goes. And if you look at the laundry list of players that he has selected for the Minnesota Vikings, there are a lot of Pro Bowlers and possible future Hall of Famers that he's selected in the past drafts for the Minnesota Vikings. Great defensive linemen, defensive ends, cornerbacks. His big hits seem to be on defense. Stephon Diggs was one of his big offensive pickups that he signed for them. But he has been interviewed numerous times for the same position at other places, and he was really picky with which job with organization he went to. So eight different organizations interviewed him, and he chose the Denver Broncos because he knows the kind of organization it is. And of course, it's still kind of up in the air with the whole Bolin family and the ownership part of it. But as far as our GM, having him, John Elway working close together, I kind of like that pick. We had a lot of good candidates for sure, but I'm excited. Reading about George. It's he seems like he's got a good head for the game, and he has a good eye for some quality players. So I'm excited to see what he can bring to our organization.
Yeah, absolutely right. I am extremely excited about this hiring. I think it puts Denver in pointed towards the right direction. We still have a lot of pieces to fill in before that time. Still have a lot of pieces to fill in before that time comes. But George Payton was quoted in his press conference via Zoom that he believes the Denver Broncos are a sleeping giant, and he is going to take on this vast responsibility that John Elway has instilled in him to bring this team to the next level. Because unlike other organizations around the NFL, the Broncos are centered around winning. They are a extremely positive winning culture, and this is what, as me and Big J, diehard Bronco fans, this is what we need, and I think this is going to lead us in that right direction.
Yeah.
And just another note I wanted to touch on before we continue talking about George Payton here. It was announced today that longtime Bronco scout Hugh Davidson passed away actually on the 29th of December. His family just announced his death today. But Hugh Davidson, a a centerpiece of that Broncos franchise. He was with the Broncos, started in 1972 and went for almost 30 years. He was in charge of the, let's see, find my notes here. He was in charge of the scouting the Northwest region of the country for the Denver Broncos before he was promoted to Denver's head scout. And according to his daughter, the one player that he always talked about, his most memorable player that he evaluated, was none other than Stanford quarterback John Elway. And also NFL Hall of Famer head coach Mike Ditka also had a extreme amount of respect for Mr. Davidson and said that he respected Mr. Davidson, and the entire NFL is extremely saddened by this news. So I just wanted to touch on that. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the Davidson family,
Yeah, absolutely.
to his daughters. But back to George Payton. We're all extremely excited to what this future holds for us. He's shown in the past that he likes to bring in veteran quarterbacks, and I think that's why we kind of alluded to that earlier, talking about especially Matthew Stafford, bringing him in to work with such a young guy like Drew Lock, because Drew Lock's only 24 years old. His NFL lifetime is just starting right now. And the possibility of bringing in a veteran guy like Stafford, I think, pushes his, potential, and even maybe speeds up that development a little bit more. But we have to play the waiting game. We still got the draft coming up in April.
Free agency.
George, yeah, free agency as well, correct. And according to John Elway, George Payton is going to have complete control over the draft, and he has drafted 13 Pro Bowlers in his tenure with Minnesota, which is extremely impressive. He was the one that found Stephon Diggs while he was there in Minnesota, and made crucial playoff runs the last handful of years with Minnesota with the likes of Case Keenum, which I think was one of the best playoff runs in NFL history. Was there with Case Keenum. They also brought in Sam Bradford as well earlier on in Minnesota to kind of give his career a second chance. But I think this is a extremely good hire. He was well respected throughout the NFL, not just the Minnesota Vikings organization.
Yep.
But if you look at Chris Spielman with the Minnesota Vikings, he was looking forward to building a long-term relationship with George, and he's extremely saddened to see him go. But he was another hot commodity in this NFL, and I'm out of the seven jobs available this year, he picked Denver, so that goes a long way to show you that what kind of person he is, the kind of team that he thinks Denver has right now. Just like I mentioned earlier, he thinks Denver's a sleeping giant. So I don't think he would have taken this position, I don't think he would have taken this position if he didn't see extreme potential here in the next handful of years.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well let's bottom half of the hour here. There you see the Broncos, sleeping giants that we are. All right, let's get to our game picks here, Beard. Let's see. Let's go game number 1. We're gonna go Baltimore at Buffalo. Who do you like, and what's your score?
God, I am still up in the air about this game, and they, there's you you get these matchups in the NFL playoffs that are toss-ups, and this is definitely one of them. And just like you alluded to earlier, that you think the winner of this game is going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, which is not a bad guess. Um, Still, with Buffalo playing at home, you have to give them the edge given the environment. Of course, Baltimore is used to playing in the cold weather, although Lamar Jackson went on record earlier this week, said that he's never played in snow before. So if that snow is going to be a factor, I give a slight edge to Buffalo. And honestly, I think final score 24-21 Buffalo. Got me, Bear?
Oh, I apologize. I had my mic shut off. My bad. I'm sitting here talking about my game pick for that one. I have Buffalo. What I said was our scores are pretty close to each other. Uh, I got Buffalo 24, Baltimore 19. Game matchup number two, Tampa Bay traveling to New Orleans. I have New Orleans winning by touchdown 34-27.
Okay, I also have. Uh, you said New Orleans, correct?
Yes, New Orleans 34, Tampa Bay 27.
Okay. I also have New Orleans in this game. I have also another similar score. I have 31-28 in favor of the Saints because you look at all of the problems New Orleans the Saints have had last handful of years in the playoffs. And Brady has more playoff experience than Drew Brees. That ungodly, um, whatever his record is in the postseason. Plus 30 starts, I believe, is what it is in postseason play, which is almost. I think the next closest guy is Joe Montana with 16, if memory serves me right. Um, but I mean, all of the cards on the table. I think this is the year that New Orleans is able to get over that hump. And I don't necessarily, that'll be a tough out, regardless of who they play next week, um, which we're not sure of who that is yet. But I think this is the week that Drew Brees, silences a lot of critics. I think he puts up a very good performance, and I think that defense for New Orleans forces Tom Brady into a costly turnover, maybe midway through the fourth quarter, which Drew Brees is able to drive down the field, take that lead, and not give it back.
Yeah, it's New Orleans defense I think is what stands up, and I think my score is a bit too high because New Orleans defense is so strong. I could see New Orleans winning this one, by 10 points, but I think a touchdown is pretty good there. I think it's going to be difficult for Tampa Bay to put up 27 points against that tough New Orleans defense. But like I said, they've already played each other twice. New Orleans came out on top both times. Um, so I still like New Orleans in that game, just because of the versatility of the New Orleans offense, but mostly because of their defense. All right, game number three matchup: Cleveland at Kansas City. Who do you like?
Well, honestly, I'm a little biased
Yeah,
because I do not like Kansas. I do
yeah,
not like Kansas City.
I agree.
You can pin it. You can put a hat. You can put a
Asterisk.
pin in it. Whatever you want to
Oh,
do. I do not like Kansas City. However, I do think Cleveland matches up with Kansas City extremely well. I think this is going to be a very similar score to what we had earlier in the year when Cleveland played Baltimore. A very high scoring affair. I think it's going to be first one to almost 50 points is going to win this game. I honestly believe it. I think Cleveland jumps out to a fast start like they did against Pittsburgh. I think Kansas City will attempt to claw their way back, but with the running game via Nick Chubb, the bootlegs with Baker Mayfield, I think he's going to silence again a lot of his critics. And Cleveland has you know nothing to lose. They have everybody back off of the COVID-19 list. So they got a full team. And you mentioned some of those injuries with Kansas City losing Sammy Watkins, another one of their deep threat wide receivers, and then that Edwards-Helaire is questionable. And just like you mentioned, their running game is not the same without him. But I got Cleveland in a humongous upset here at Arrowhead Stadium, 48-44.
Yeah, I like your sentiments there. I'd love to see the score of Cleveland 40, Kansas City nothing. But unfortunately, we know that's not going to happen. I agree with you. I think Cleveland jumps out early, but I don't know. I just have one of those feelings that the Chiefs are just going to. They seem to be getting the calls. Things seem to be bouncing their way this year, and it just seems like the cards are lined up. I have Kansas City winning in a close one, 35-34. And lastly, up in Green Bay, the LA Rams will face the number one Green Bay Packers. Score I have here, I have the Packers winning comfortably, uh, and I think they could probably score more than what I have here. But I have the Packers winning 27-10.
Wow. Okay. I would also have to agree with that. I think Green Bay handles their business like they should. Um, like I like I said, I think this game is going to be a little bit closer um, through the majority of the game, but I think fourth quarter rolls around. Aaron Rodgers works his magic and jumps out to a big lead. I got 31-17 in mine, and with Packers on top, and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to play to the best of his ability. I think they're going to be well rested, having that bye week, and I think LA has a very tall task to be competitive in this game.
Yeah, and I think it'll be tough for the Rams to contain Brad Stevens, but I almost guarantee he's going to be open. So Aaron throwing the ball.
But the the other thing with that game that if Los Angeles even has the slightest chance is they have to force Aaron Rodgers into some turnovers, and you and me both know that's something that he just doesn't do. Aaron Rodgers
Right.
does not turn the ball over. He
Yeah.
just doesn't do it, regardless of whatever exotic package that the Rams might throw at him. I just don't see Aaron turning the ball over like that obviously he would have to do to give LA any kind of a chance at this game.
Yeah. All right. Well, that pretty much wraps up episode one of the Playmakers with Big J and the Beard. Uh, pretty much right at an hour show, so not bad. We'll review some footage and we'll come back better prepared next time. But we will definitely be back next weekend. We will cover the divisional round of the playoffs, and we'll have our conference championship matchups for you next weekend. So for Big J and the Beard, this is Big J.
And the
No,
backup.
no, actually, it's for the Beard. I am Big J, and we're outie.
And the backup.
Oh wait, you've got her sign off. Go ahead.
For all you guys listening, we want to thank you. Want to thank Big J for running shotgun with me here tonight, and we'd like to thank you all for listening. And as always, God bless football. This has been the play.
Makers. This has been a representation and a broadcast by something. By Brofest Productions. I really gaffed that up.